Sup guys, today we're going to show you how to disassemble an AC fan motor and reassemble it. And we're also we already did the inspection video on how to inspect your air conditioner fan motor, stator and windings for damage. So you guys can tell, we got pretty dirty just doing that video. So anyway, I hope you guys are looking forward to this. So to get ready to take the motor apart, on a Fetter's weather wheel fan motor, as you will have seen in the first video, you're going to have 4 of these bolts on the motor, and the bolts are going to be followed by one of these. It's going to be followed by one of these little guys right here. So you look carefully here. This is the bolt itself, which there are going to be 4 of these, one having where the fan motor was made. So you're going to have 4 of these long bolts here, along with the nut that'll go with it. So what we're going to do is, first thing you want to do, now if those nuts are on there super tight and you can't get them off, what you can do is you can use a pair of pliers, and you can do this, grab a hold of the nut and then turn it counterclockwise in order to disassemble it, or in order to get it loose. But anyway, we already have all 4 of the bolts removed, so we're going to show you how to take the fan motor apart. So what you're going to do, this is a Fetter's weather wheel fan motor, by the way. It's off my weather wheel, which is running right now because I was able to put 2 of my mainstays fans in there in order to keep the unit running smoothly until I can get the fan motor here rewound. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to do a full disassembly and reassembly of the fan motor. So I hope you guys are looking forward to this. This is going to be exciting. So anyway, let's get started. Alright, so you can see we're looking at the fan motor here. This is out of my weather wheel. So for those of you who have a 12,000 BTU 115 volt Fetter's weather wheel, this video will be useful. So please watch this video if you have a 12,000 BTU 115 volt weather wheel whose fan motor has failed. So please be sure to watch the video and let me know what you think. So anyway, let's disassemble this fan motor. So what we're going to do first is, since we have all 4 of the bolts removed, is we're going to start off by removing the front. You can remove the front or the rear. Like, I always like to go with the front first, because then that's gonna pull the armature right out. So you want to pull gently because you don't want to ruin the motor housing, and you're going to simply just pull it apart like this. And now what you're left with is your stator and rear motor housing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go put this inside for right now until it's time for reassembly. So now what you're left with is you're left with your stator and rear motor housing. So to simply get access to the rear half of the windings as well, you're simply just gonna pull on the rear half of the stator as well, and there you go. So now you have access to your motor. Now you have access to the stator. In this case, this is a PSC type motor, and you can tell there's where the short circuit was, right there. Short circuit was right there at the wiring. So in this case, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get this fan motor rewound because of that. And the reason why this fan motor failed, look at how black the windings are. That means the run capacitor for the fan motor had failed. This is a PSC type motor, by the way, for those of you who might be unfamiliar with weather wheel air conditioners. So now we're going to reassemble the fan motor. So what we're going to do here is you're simply going to reinsert your rear motor housing back onto the stator and push it in tightly so your rear motor housing is back together. So we're just gonna set our stator and rear motor housing just like this. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and grab our armature and front motor housing, and we're gonna reinsert it back onto the fan motor. So now, before we go ahead and do that, we're gonna... Never mind. Alright, never mind, guys. I lied. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and reassemble the fan motor now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our armature and front motor housing, and we're gonna take our rear motor housing, and what you're simply going to do... Oh, there we go. We just want that to stay together. So what you're simply going to do is you're going to simply just take the two halves. You want to put your armature, you want to put your drive shaft back into the rear half of the motor, into the rear bearing. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your fan motor together just like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just double check and make sure we're lined up. Okay. Alright, just want to make sure we're lined up here. Alright, so we're going to turn just slightly. And then we're going to do just that. And now we are ready to put the bolts back in. So we're just going to let that mounting fall into place. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your rear bolts. You're going to insert your bolt into the fan motor just like this. Now be sure to line it up too. Even if you need to, try to look for the hole that it goes into. The last thing you need is to not be able to find the hole that it goes in. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the rear half just a little bit, so that way our inner stator hole is lined up with our external stator hole. And we're going to insert the bolt into the hole. Just like that. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to turn my front stator half a little bit. We're going to turn the front half of the stator. And what that's going to allow me to do, that's going to allow me to insert my bolt through the front of the fan motor. So in this case, your front bolt is going to insert just like that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the little nut that goes on the front of the bolt, and we're going to you're simply just going to take your nut and screw it. And what we're going to do is we're going to tighten it down a little bit. So we're going to use my pliers, tighten that down so it's nice and secure. That way by the time you go to put your other nuts back on, you're already going to be good to go to insert them back onto the motor. So what we're doing right now is we're just tightening it down. So you want to be sure it's nice and tight, because if you don't, that's what's going to lead you to problems in the future, such as like the motor coming apart. You know, we don't want that stuff to happen. So we're going to do the same thing here. So you're going to repeat this process. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to take our bolt and insert it into the stator, just like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure I'm aligned, which yes I am. So if you need to, you can pull these wires forward a little bit. So that way it makes it easier. Or for whatever reason it's not working out for you, you can always just try. You can always try to get your bolt aligned, which I just did. And now we're going to insert into the stator. So if your bolt is going to give you trouble with this, the best thing you can do is, if you don't want to ruin the blade, I would recommend taking it off. But we're just going to gently tap. And there we go, it's in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our nut once again, and we're going to go ahead and insert it we're going to go ahead and insert it onto the threads. And you're going to turn the nut about finger tight. And then once your nut is turned finger tight, you're going to take your pliers and you're just going to tighten the nut until it's snug on the stator. Just like that. So now if you even want just 3 of the bolts in, that's acceptable. Just as long as you have it nice and secure, so that way your fan motor doesn't decide to start giving you problems once you reinsert it into the unit, which lately we haven't been having that happen, so that's pretty good. So what we're going to do, now if your hardware gets lost, don't worry, because as long as you have spare hardware, which I usually do, you should be good to go. So what you're going to do is the same thing. You want to take your 3rd bolt and insert it into the stator. Just like this. Now we're going to do the same thing. Oh. Alright, here we go. That's going in. So this one's a little bit more rusted, so it's kind of harder to put in. But anyway, so you guys pretty much know the process here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this reassembly video on how to reassemble an AC fan motor. Now this is for those of you who have a 115 volt Fetters weather wheel. You know, if you have one like mine, which is a 12,000 BTU, which is one of the rare models, same as can be. Or if you have a weather wheel like Russ has, a 14,000 BTU version, you know, like the deep chassis one like mine, then you're good to go. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next video. So anyway, guys, take care.